Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to How's It Going to End? Could I sound less fucking enthusiastic? So yeah, this episode was supposed to come out Friday. I had already recorded it on Wednesday during Biden's inauguration. Hallelujah, and I fucked up the audio. So I'm recording a new one on Friday. What is it? The 22nd, and it'll be coming out Saturday morning, the 23rd. And yeah, I guess there's ways to learn to go around stuff like that. You know, I'm just starting this out, and it makes sense that there'd be simple issues that I'm gonna learn from, obviously. But I guess better to have this happen early when no one's fucking listening. So yeah, sweet. All right. What's going on? How's everyone doing? Uh, how's everyone enjoying their week? Okay, I'm gonna just get it out of the way because I kind of covered it on the failed recording from Wednesday. It feels so good. I mean, listen, there's so much work left to be done, even with Biden in office. I'm just getting this out of the way. There's so much more work to be done that it's actually mentally crippling to think about. But we don't have to think about the what like that whole joke of when you wake up in the morning, what did he do today? We finally once again have a boring fucking, an actually like experienced boring political person in the White House, and you'll never change my mind that that's worse than anything of Trump. So moving on. Congratulations to Biden, and big fucking congratulations to Kamala Harris, the first woman in that office and the first black and I think of black and Asian descent. So that's a historical fucking move, no matter what you think. So yeah, okay, moving on. I talked a little more about that in the other episode, but I'm not gonna dive into it now. I got some other shit to talk about. Luckily, having this being postponed a couple days over, so I got to watch the third episode of WandaVision. I got to, look through some other news, and there's other stuff to talk about. So let's just get right into it. Excuse me while I comb through IMDb news. Okay, first off, HBO Max released a whole new trailer for the next set of films that they got coming out, and it starts off with Godzilla versus Kong, going through to the Suicide Squad and The Matrix and Many Saints of Newark and all these other films that they have coming out throughout 2021 from Warner Bros. I'm not going to get into the whole Warner Bros. and HBO Max deal. The short of it is I'm not a fan of it. As a consumer, it's obviously going to be the better option. Convenience will never take a back seat to any other, historical, cultural experience like going to the movies. I'm still waiting to go to the movies. I love seeing, directors like Edgar Wright and Christopher Nolan consistently kind of clash heads with this HBO Max and Warner Brothers deal, which I don't know. I think that to call those people out of touch when it's like they're like tapping the straight mainstream line of pop culture and film and this entire idea, I think that's a little fucking like self-centered and like strangely conceited to think about. But I'm not going to get into that shit. I think it's ridiculous. And to the people that are like, oh well, who wants to go to the movie theater anyway? You're paying $70 for a drink and popcorn. When was the last time you bought snacks at a fucking movie theater? Quit the bullshit. I started sneaking in snacks in the movie theater when I was 12 years old. Okay, my uncle would make it a point in our family during like multiple Sundays during major releases. He would buy like 25, 30 seats of a theater for a major release. Like, we saw Avatar in theater, we saw Avengers, we saw Django Unchained, we saw so many huge movies in like giant theaters. And that was the experience, and that's what started that love of like going to the movie theaters was always its own thing. It changed the vibe of the night. The dynamics of the night was different. So that experience will never. I'm not like watching Godzilla versus Kong on my living room TV is fucking grotesque to me. But either way, Who the fuck buys snacks at a fucking movie theater? Unless you have like a bunch of kids and they want a popcorn and a soda, so you begrudgingly buy them a soda. But like, who the fuck is bringing children to go to the movie theaters? And if you're a parent and you're bringing a child to the movie theater, you're selfish. Cut the shit. Think of other people around you. But I'm talking about grown people going to the movie theaters. You're telling me you don't sneak in like a fucking like 3 bags of M&Ms from the Dwayne Reed down the block and a couple of bottles of soda? Cut the shit. I think everyone has had that experience of walking with like a 2-liter or some shit like lined in their jacket and hoping no one pays attention. But moving on from that, they released this trailer and it's fucking awesome, and it's getting me no matter what, like no matter how I feel about the deal and how fucked up it was to just decide one time without consulting the creators of these films that they were going to put them all through a streaming service, which is fucking disgusting. It's still, this trailer still finds a way. You know, Mortal Kombat, The Conjuring, the next one, all these huge movies that are coming out over this year are going to be on this device. And yes, the convenience is always going to be easier. Obviously, it's fucking convenient, but it's mutilating a fucking 100-year-old experience. But whatever. So after the release of this trailer, you know, everyone's kind of complaining about Godzilla, and everyone's, you know, all the simple stuff about Godzilla movies. Here's the thing about these Godzilla movies that I kind of don't understand is I really, really liked the first one. I know some people don't like it. You barely even saw Godzilla. You barely see him the entire fucking movie. It's like if you whiny bitches fucking were transported to 1970 and watched Jaws, you'd be complaining about you barely even see the shark. It's like you guys don't appreciate the fucking subtlety of something like that, and that is just ridiculous to me. Not to mention, every time they show a fucking monster in a movie, it always undercuts everything. Like Cloverfield and all those movies where the Grand, you know, or Signs, all these movies where they reveal like the monster by the end of it. It's like, why did you? The mystique was perfect. Why did you have to fucking do that? So when it comes to those Godzilla movies, it's like the first one had a very good mixture of you know, like a good human narrative that didn't get in the way of the monster, like the simple monster narrative of Godzilla's there to balance everything. So, and then the second one comes out, and then they force this whole like weird family relationship between Vera Farmiga and that one fucking guy and Millie Bobby Brown. And it's like, is that her name, Millie Bobby? Oh, I hope I'm not fucking that up. Hold on. I don't watch Stranger Things. I'm sorry. Okay, Millie Bobby Brown. Thank fucking God. I thought it was confusing it with something else. All right. Their whole family relationship was ridiculous. I don't give a shit about like the daughter not being able to see the dad or not wanting to see the dad, being stuck with the mom, and then the mom being like a whole like unveiling herself as a terrorist, and then in the end realizing, oh shit, maybe it's not a good idea to have everyone on Earth go extinct. Yeah, that forced human story amidst like the complete 180 of monster. Like the reason why I liked Godzilla in the first movie, even though we barely saw him, was because it grounded everything. If you're a human in that reality of, you know, Godzilla comes on the fucking shores of San Francisco, you're not going to be seeing these tight shots of Godzilla's like, you know, face as he faces off against a bunch of other fucking monsters. It kind of weirdly enough, it dehumanizes the story. I'm not going to relate to Godzilla and the monster. I'm going to relate to the people. And if you constantly cut back and forth between like stale reaction shots of people and these giant, you know, cage match looking views of these monsters fighting, I'm gonna detach from it. I have no emotional connection whatsoever, as opposed to the first one, when somehow Bryan Cranston dying in the first 15 minutes, and I felt more than the entire second movie. And the way I see it is, if the only thing, personally, the only thing I found good about King of the Monsters was the visuals, if the only good thing about your film is the visuals, then you made a turd of a film. It's a polished turd. It's real fucking shiny. That shit is real shiny, but it's still shit. You know, that's just the way I see it personally. But ignoring all of that, with the release of Kong, you kind of have this different style of it. Kong has a lot more humor interjected in it. The humor doesn't always land. You know, admittedly, it's not always the funniest shit, but it has a whole different level of personalization, and they have a whole backstory for Kong and all that. So to have him grow throughout the 1970s to now, and then to face off against Godzilla, it's like, I'm not tricking myself. I know I'm not going to get a human story from. I know Millie Bobby Brown is in it. For some fucking, I don't. Who cares about these fucking people? If you at this point, if your whole movie is based around monsters fighting, stop jamming human relationships into it. I don't care to watch these like daughters and mothers, sacrificing or getting like. Who gives a shit? Now at this point, if you decided to like sacrifice a solid human narrative because of how many people complaining that you couldn't see all of Godzilla, then just go balls to the fucking wall with it and stop cutting between these blank human faces reacting to the monsters. I just want to see the monsters go fucking nuts. From the little bits of clips we've seen, it looks like it's going to be fucking insane. It looks like it's going to be wild, and I wish I would be able to see it in a fucking movie theater. But the handling of this pandemic is a garbage. So what are you going to do, Moving on to something else that I'm super, super interested and excited about. I don't know. It's weird. Whenever I talk about the show Peaky Blinders, I feel like no one I know around me watches it. I only know two people that watch it. They got me into it, and it's like how. I guess it's like it must be insanely popular in the BBC in the UK because it was originally a BBC show. It went to Netflix and all that, but it's so fucking good, and I never hear anyone in America talking about it. Maybe a couple people online will come across posts I make, but it's like, Jesus, it's so fucking good. So basically, thanks to the pandemic, that it fucked up the entire plan of they were going to have season 6 filmed during 2020, and I guess season 7 filmed during 2021. 7 seasons was originally going to be the total, and then apparently Stephen Knight, the creator of the show, was going to make a film. He said that was always his plan, to end the show with a made-for-TV film, which is fucking great. I'm such a huge fan of this. Like, it's a more common, more recent idea. You got El Camino, you got Deadwood, you got the Walking Dead movies coming out soon. I fucking loved El Camino. It's one of my favorite movies of 2019. Vince Gilligan is a genius, and I loved Deadwood. To have a show be canceled, and I think in 2005, and then prematurely fucking canceled. Like, Jesus Christ, it's so good, and they have so many things planned, and then it gets fucking canceled because, I don't know, early HBO after The Sopranos was like, all right, let's try something else. It's not doing as good as The Wire. We gotta keep it going, stuff like that. Meanwhile, 15 years later, they release a movie that wraps up every story. They can't do, obviously, every, subplot and an A and B and C plot and from the show, but they, in like a 2 hour, I think 15-minute movie, they perfectly wrap up so many great stories. And it's just it goes to show that if you give like a film budget to show creators, the shit that can come out of it. So Peaky Blinders is officially ending on its 6th season, and then they're doing a movie, which is hilarious. It's the whole Community line, 6 seasons in a movie. That's got to be like a good luck thing at this point. I hope if they do a Community movie, which I don't know if they're actually ever going to do it, but because I think that the talk surrounding it is larger now than the idea of it alone, that it's never going to get done. But if they do, holy shit, that's gonna be fucking insane. For those who haven't watched Peaky Blinders, just a quick little, intro to it. They have the first 5 seasons on Netflix right now, at least in America. I'm not sure about anywhere else, Canada or anything like that, because I just found out recently they're different. What the fuck's with that? So it's British mobsters after the First World War, like immediately following the First World War, and it's almost it's that classic 2000s to late 2010s whiskey of the sociopathic family leader has to deal with all these issues while having like incompetent family members that don't listen to him. He knows everything. He's always correct. And obviously Tony Soprano was kind of that. He had that whole sociopathic nature of, I'm the boss and you have to give respect to get respect and all that, like, iconic. His character really was the start of that golden age of television that led to, Al Swearingen, Walter White, Don Draper, Tommy Shelby, Jax Teller, all those guys that and fucking Rick Grimes, all those guys that teeter on the moral, sensitivities, the rights and the wrongs, and yet you still root for them in the end. He was the start of that entire world. obviously. So that's this having placing that personality in the time period of 1919, 1918, and it's in this guy who's trying to rise in society at that time. You have the slow start rise of fascism, which is super fucking relatable, which shouldn't be, but what are you gonna do? Nazis are back. Nazis have always been here. I'm fooling myself if I say they're back. And but then you watch this family slowly rise and rise, and every season there's a significant time jump, which is what I always loved about the show. Is they're established over time, like significantly established, and yet they're always just under the crust of like that top caste of society. Everyone still looks at them like garbage because they came from nothing. They genuinely came from like garbage from the war, and then they started building their company. Meanwhile, all these other people are like old money rich, so they look down on them and like they're fucking savages. And then you watch Tommy Shelby, one of the greatest characters in television, go through so much like emotional and physical fucking heartache. And it's such a great show. If you haven't seen Peaky Blinders, please check it out. It's so fucking good. All right, moving on. What else is there to talk about? There's been a whole new batch of movie delays, which I was actually surprised to see, mostly because I just assumed everything was gonna either come out on time or head to a streaming service. And then there were movies that I completely forgot about that I was like super excited about last year, like Antlers, produced by Benicio del Toro. Not Benicio del Toro, Jesus, Guillermo del Toro. Should I leave? I'm gonna leave that in. Why not? It's fucking dumb. It was supposed to come out in April of last year. It looks like this sick horror movie. It's based on a short story that was like, I think it's around the three bears or something like that. I was super excited about it, because it looks genuinely terrifying, and it's coming out October of this year, and I completely forgot about it. I don't know. It disappeared off my radar. A couple other delays going on. A Quiet Place moved. Well, no, that's everyone knew about that. Where is it here? There are rumors Black Widow is gonna be postponed, which is like, just put it on. I mean, if you're willing to like throw away, Mulan on Disney Plus, just put it on Disney Plus. And this is a movie people are gonna happily pay to see on Disney Plus. Not Mulan already had so many issues behind it. No one really gave a shit enough to. I don't even know how much money it actually made from all those separate $30 purchases, which is hilarious. Ghostbusters is pushed to June 11th instead of March 5th. Godzilla moves earlier, actually, funny enough, in HBO Max's timeline to March 26th from May. Jurassic World, the newest one coming out, went from June 2021 to June 2022, which is like, I don't know. I that's just another one of those. I couldn't care less. When the movie is marketed solely around like, hey, we're getting all the old people back, it's like, you're so fucking creatively tapped that the only response you can do is bring back Alan Grant. It's like, that's not enough for me to enjoy your dino fucking dump of a movie. Last Night in Soho. This was one of my top 10 of last year that I was looking forward to. Edgar Wright, one of the best filmmakers ever, without a doubt. The guy does not ever fucking fail. His psychological horror was supposed to come out last year in September, and went to April, and now it's moved all the way to October, which is unfortunate. But Edgar Wright is super vocal about keeping movies in movie theaters and all that, which is super appreciative. Because it's there are too many people, I feel like, so ready to just like flush a whole experience down, and he's super into the idea of keeping everything, seeing his movie in theater. And this looks like, apparently this is supposed to be like a psychedelic fucking horror trip. So I'm excited. That's something I want to see in theater. Simple as that. I want to fucking be able to actually sit in a theater. Even I've been trying to rent out theaters, but every theater that's rentable is like far as fuck, especially, I mean, for someone who doesn't fucking drive in New York. It's like, god damn, I don't want to have to, plan out a whole weekend to go. That's nothing. That's like the best thing to me. Like this whole new this new wave of like being able to go around being groups of people in society now is amazing. By the way, like my barber finally lets you do appointments, which is like, why hasn't it always been this way? Why haven't I, for movie theaters, why couldn't I have always been able to be like, yeah, I'm going to rent out this theater. I'll give you a specific chunk of fucking cash and then I get the theater all to myself, or like, up to 20 fucking people. That sounds amazing. I go to see movies by myself anyways. Like, that's the only time I want to, that's like fucking meditation time. I just want to sit alone and watch some fucking awesome shit. The Many Saints in Newark pushed to from March to September. The Matrix pushed to December of 2021 from April. Whole bunch of shit. No Time to Die. That's a shitty one. This thing got delayed like 4 or 5 times almost. It went from April of, when was it supposed to come out? I think it was supposed to come out last year in November, or last April, and then it got pushed all the way to October. It's like, damn, it's gonna come to the point where it's like it's gonna get that New Mutants effect of like, it's been pushed so often. It's like, they're like the mass of people. Like I posted about it the other day, and the most common comment was, who gives a shit about it at this point, which I can understand. I mean, how long are you gonna hold out this enthusiasm for a movie, especially after almost a year and a half of not seeing movies. The last movie I saw in theaters was Birds of Prey. It's a good last movie to end the theater going experience on, but Jesus Christ, I fucking miss it so much. I miss that and going to baseball games. God, I miss going to baseball games so badly. Woo. Thor: Love and Thunder. I didn't even know about this one. It got moved from November 5th, 2021 to February 11th, 2022. That fucking blows. That's, I guess, the only, going back to the convenience of HBO Max. All these movies that we've been waiting for so long are finally going to be accessible. But at the same time, it's like, I'm imagining like working on the set of that movie, working in post, working in pre-production, and then being like, one day they just up and decide like, oh yeah, we're gonna the big media conglomerate is hemorrhaging cash, so we're gonna put your shit on HBO Max without even discussing it with you. Like that's all fucked, man. Uncharted got pushed to February 11th, 2022. Oh, that's fucking. I'm not much of an. I had never played any of the Uncharted games. They don't really, personally, they don't. I don't find them completely. I don't know. I'm not something about like Indiana Jones type games where it's like, they're going through like Tomb Raider. I never played any of those or anything like that. I'm a very narrow. I have a very narrow like interest in video games, so I couldn't care less. Plus, I'm slowly finding Tom Holland like hilariously overrated. Just like the longer that they kind of like hype up this guy, it's also like unnaturally hyping him up. There's obviously all his like hyper young female fans are like flipping out over him, to the point where it's like, all right, relax, just relax a little bit, just yeah, that's all those movies pushed. I'm mostly disappointed that this is old news. Batman being pushed to March of 2022. It just seems like a perfect October movie. This Batman, this like Matt Reeves's vibe surrounding this Batman is so like everyone has talked about it. It's so David Fincher reminiscent. So it's like something like that is a great movie to see during the Halloween season. It's entirely possible it gets pushed from March to another October, but we'll see what happens. And then every Avatar movie is planned for like every year of this fucking decade, which is come on James, who actually liked Avatar when it came out? I saw Avatar. It was one of those movies that my uncle took the entire family to see. We saw it on like opening night, in 3D, or like the whole aspect, like I said earlier with Godzilla. If your movie is sold on the new idea of like, oh, this is revolutionary technology of watching, it's like, There's nothing behind that. There's no actual substance to this. It's like the most simple, anti-deforestation type movie. It's like it's got no actual fucking like meaning, or I just couldn't give a shit about it. The only thing was like the idea of Pandora, and then there was like that whole phenomenon. Do you remember that? The whole phenomenon of people like killing themselves because they'll never make it to Pandora. The fictional fucking world that they create. How is that even a thing? That's like the mass hysteria people that died from laughing. That's fucking ridiculous. Imagine. Well, I guess I'm a little insensitive there, but I mean, come on, that sounds fucking dumb. Even the most hyper like fan, I feel like for Harry Potter, or Star Wars isn't gonna fucking kill themselves because they can't go to Hogwarts or Tatooine. Fucking Pandora, of all fucking fictional places to get all fucking cringy about. Come on. All right, I've been waiting to talk about this because I'm so in love with WonkaVision. I know it's WandaVision. I don't like that title. I don't like when people try to be like, don't you get it? It's a clever play on words. Yeah, I get it. That's the problem. It's so punch in the nose, clever play on words that it's fucking disgusting to me. It's so like not, it has no subtlety whatsoever. So I've been calling it WonkaVision because that's what it reminds me of. Fucking WonkaVision, you know? Thousands of particles flying through the air and it goes and you're a chocolate bar, all that shit. So I fucking love this show so far, the first 3 episodes, so much, and it genuinely surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I did not expect to be this, enamored with this fucking show. It is so unlike anything in the entire MCU. Like even from the MCU's the redefining the blockbuster. It's like this is so something else that it's kind of fucking insane. It's insane. I mean, so I guess, spoiler warning. Even though I don't know, the first 3 episodes, the spoilers aren't really even spoilers. They just raise questions. First off, I am obsessed. I took a comedy and history of television class a couple semesters ago in college, and we went through the history of comedy from the earliest of sketches and the Marx Brothers and Charlie Chaplin all the way up to movies of today, Super Bad, all those comedy films and all that, and in television. And going, my favorite time to go through was the sitcom era because situational comedy is the most like foolproof formula, I think, in entertainment that somehow always succeeds, and yet it's legitimately almost copy paste every time. But it always succeeds in the tiniest little differences, I think. All the way from the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Dick Van Dyke Show, Honeymooners, Cheers, Frasier, Friends, How I Met Your Mother, like this stretch of all these shows, they all evolve in such interesting ways throughout time, throughout the decades, and I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with that evolution. So, Corona. So seeing it visually done, and not done for no purpose on WonkaVision. It's done with the complete, on purpose to create the twisted reality around everything. So starting off in the 60s, you have the 60s filter, or the early 60s, the rise of doo-wop from the 50s, and everything is an open set, like how most sitcoms are, but everything is, a simple gray tone. It's a black and white, it's gray toned, and you have this. There was always a glaze over the 60s. Everyone had all this pent up fucking sexuality and emotion and anger from such a tumultuous decade that they hid their best they hid their worst selves and only pushed forward their best selves in society, hiding all the horror behind milkshakes and television. So if you take this insanely terrifying concept of what's going on in WonkaVision, where Wanda is having essentially a fucking mental breakdown. Her brain is collapsing from all the trauma of Endgame and Infinity War. That you get to mirror that with the secret hidden trauma of the 60s. It's so well done. Not to mention, like, most things that take place in the 60s that are made nowadays are kind of on the side of horror. Like, usually it's like serial killers or American Horror Story with the asylum, and it's just they know how to. It's such an isolated time, and there was such a specific ideal to people in that time that any other like expression of a human was so left alone that it's terrifying. It's like being left on a fucking stranded island, but you're surrounded by people who are purposely leaving you on that island. It's just a terrifying time to be not, obviously to be not a straight white man, but to not be someone who has everything figured out. That whole idea of the American dream in that time in America in the 60s. It's just everything else is so picture perfect that if you're not, this is why Mad Men was so good, is because everyone always tried fronting a picture perfect reality, but there was always more. Like, even to every single character, there was always more behind the scenes. So starting in that era, in like the early 60s, the late 50s, and in that sitcom era specifically, there was such a specific rhythm to shows of that time. There was a rhythm to the dialogue, to the movement, to the stories, to the simple sitcom conventions, and then to put the world of comic books in that form, in that medium, to be able to imagine how they would express Wanda and Vision's powers. It was so. I think it was just so well done. The old fashioned sitcom filter over everything. Really, the wide shots of all the sets, so that it's like I Love Lucy from far away. You can see. You can make out that they're who they are, but it's very dehumanizing, and it makes you feel like you're looking in on something. That's how those old sitcoms really felt to me. Was you're looking in on this fake reality, which doubles on Wanda's fake reality. And it plays on all those classic sitcom plots and the misunderstandings and the goofy slapstick. But the major thing about this is I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how cringy it is to see this, and it's like, or how people saying it's cheesy, which personally it's like, I love the cheese. I love the cheese. I love when something takes itself seriously to the point where it's as like someone watching it, it makes you it makes your skin crawl a little bit, because how often, by the way, today are things really taken seriously? Everything has some kind of, sarcastic view on itself, to where it completely depersonalizes. So watching and that's not even what's happening in the show. So what my point is, the show taking its tone seriously, taking this goofy 60s tone seriously, reinforces. It's done on purpose, I think. It's not meant to be like goofy 60s. It's done on purpose to the point where it's like, this is how fucked Wanda is. She's so trapped in this mental capsule of not wanting to confront all her trauma, that the show, like the fake show, is hamming the fuck up. It's doing it on purpose. It's cheesy as shit, because that's what she's doing. She's making it cheesy. Every time something reflects, how every time something's a little speed bump in that cheesiness, it becomes even cheesier. If Vision is like, something's going on, and then I love the fucking editing, the way it skips, and it manufactures this even more cheesy, perfect sitcom reality. It's like she is doing all of it. It's being reinforced. Like, I'm going to go more into theories in a little bit. It's being reinforced by Agnes, who is I think Agatha Harkness, the Salem witch from the Marvel comics. But this whole effect where everything is 100% the stereotype it's trying to be, it's all her doing it. It's not like, and believe me, in any other situation, I feel like I would be pointing out that it's done like hacky. This is not being done in a hacky way. This is being done in a perfectly creative way. It's telling the story, it's expressing Wanda's powers, and it's legitimizing the is legitimizing a word? It's further creating this reality that she's making. You know what I mean? The cheesier the show gets, the more Wanda is enveloping herself in this fake reality. The more she's it's that meme of the fucking dog in the burning building. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And it's just it's so manic, and it's letting I'm freaking out about it because it's letting us know so much about her mental state, how fucked she is in the brain at the moment. I'm so excited to hear, like, she's supposed to be in Doctor Strange too. So, I mean, presumably they're going to, like, wrap everything up, which is good to know. She will be fine eventually, but right now it seems so fucked. How do you go around it? And then it moves into the next episode. Each episode it shifts into, you know, the later years, and then the next episode takes place in, let's say, the late 60s, starting to be the early 70s of sitcoms, and it's much more personable. You know, early sitcoms were very stale, and oh honey, I love you, and oh you dear. It's very much you could put anyone's face in those characters, and then you have those people. But further on, you know, writing in television gets better, and these characters somehow, even though they're still pretty two-dimensional, get fleshed out more. But because it's Wanda and Vision, we have, you know, whole films of backstory for these people, and we get to sub it in. And we know that this is not their reality. That's what's so great about it. That's why we're almost in Vision's place. The only difference between the viewer of this show right now, us, and Vision is we're watching Wanda affect everything. She's the one, you know, cutting and pasting, and it makes me feel really bad for Vision. It reminded me, it tapped into my love for the Truman Show. Every time he notices something is fucked up, or he notices people are acting different, he notices some, you know, reality shift, he can tell. And that's what I love about it too, is he's like, something's fucking going on here. And then that quick cut is so chilling. And I think it's the third episode. I can't remember. It makes me fucking like cold to my touch. Like, it just adds on to that. I guess I have specific, you know, things that scare me. Something about the idea of being alone with no one to talk to. And that says a lot about me mentally. But the idea of being alone with no one to talk to and no one quite understanding what's happening. And every time you try to explain it, you're fucked. Everyone, it's like that extreme gaslighting in the Truman Show of him realizing, walking around, seeing, you know, where there's supposed to be an elevator, it just looks like a set, and there's a couple people eating craft services, and it's like, what the fuck's going on here? That idea of like, everyone is in on it except for me. That's like a mass home invasion. That's one of my biggest fears, is a home invasion. The idea of someone putting me in a vulnerable state in my own setting, and them in control. That's fucking terrifying. And so putting it on a global scale like that, and having and putting Vision through that with us knowing what's actually happening without really knowing what's actually happening, that's such a good steady horror aspect to this entire show that is actually also really funny. It reminds me, like, the simple, cheesy, like, lighthearted levity the show that each episode has contained from the late 50s to the early 70s. It's just, it makes me want to rewatch kind of like Honeymooners and Cheers and Three's Company and the Brady Bunch. All those shows had such a I mean, it's not even nostalgic. I didn't fucking grow up watching them. It's more of like, there's such a comfort. I guess it plays on nostalgia. It's got that comforting aspect to everything where it's like, yeah, this is nice. I want to stay like this forever. And I guess it feels like how Wanda feels. You know, I want to stay like this forever. I want nothing to ever change. And then, you know, further in episode 3, you have that whole shift. They have the twins, And Monica Rambeau, that's the daughter of Captain Marvel's friend from Captain Marvel, which I was genuinely surprised it was her in there, but I guess it makes sense given the daughter of Captain Marvel's friend from Captain Marvel she joins Shield presumably, right? Right? She becomes part of that, and then eventually gets assigned to this fucked Wanda situation. So her, so that's what's so. Oh my god, dude, I fucking love this so much. I'm so excited for next week. So I'm gonna go into my conspiracy now, and then I'm gonna kind of branch out from that. It's not really a conspiracy. I feel like most people are thinking about this. Wanda shut out the rest of the world after Endgame. Total mental collapse, completely gone. Shield, presumably Shield, some government organization, and the rest maybe of the Avengers are consistently trying to tap into this reality. They're sending in, Monica. They're sending in people to be like, that's why she brought up Quicksilver, Pietro. And she brought up Ultron. And that's why the mention of Ultron completely took a switch in Wanda. That's the moment when Wanda turns to her and goes like, tell me what you said, or like it was something just like repeat, like what did you say? And she had this coldness, and it made me think of the comics when she fucking completely erased mutants. It is just so significantly stern and terrifying that it's like, imagine these powers at a max, like without care for human safety, Imagine what that will do. And I feel like we're going to see something like that eventually. So bringing up Ultron is a way of them probably trying to tap into her consciousness to be like, hey, Wanda, wake the fuck up. Snap out of it. You wake up, But she picks up on it. All these characters in this show are part of it. They're probably all like set up. Because remember, Vision and Wanda have no fucking clue what they're doing in the first episode. They don't know why they're there or anything like that. And it's played off as comedy, what is purposely played off as comedy so that we don't think about the fact that there's probably a government organization trying to wake her the fuck up, to snap her out of this mental fucking paralysis. And then at the same time, she picks up on it. She's like, "Oh shit, I'm almost coming to reality again. I'm almost remembering that Vision is dead." So what she do? She expels Monica. She shoots her out of the fucking reality. And then that's where we actually see it. It looks like there's like a dome. It's fucking Truman Show shit. It looks like was it Seaside in the Truman Show? So we know that someone is trying to, some organization. I'm gonna assume it's Shield, even though like every once in a while you have a commercial for a Stark toaster or a Hydro watch and stuff like that. I'm gonna assume it's Shield trying to snap her out of it. And then you have, what was his name? I think the actor's name is Ray Park. Randall Park. Ray Park is Darth Maul. Randall Park is, Wanda, what's going on? Wanda, who's doing this to you? That's where I think Agnes comes in. Agatha Harkness. She's, a witch in the Marvel Universe. She's supposed to be a survived witch from, like, the Salem witch trials. And she is consistently reinforcing this reality. She's, like, goading on that she's the campiest of all the characters. No one else is as much of a character as she is. I think that maybe she might be conjuring everyone else, and then every once in a while, which is why when Monica comes in, you have Agatha and Vision's neighbor being like, "We don't know where she came from. She just showed up here." I think that Agatha is like is providing more of this reality to keep Wanda in this state, and no one else knows that. And Wanda is going along with it because she doesn't want to confront the reality where Vision is fucking dead, So fuck. Oh my god, this is so good. Okay, it starts to remind me of. Strangely enough, there are moments in the episode, in the show, that remind me of Get Out when Chris flashes the lights on their eyes. You see when they come back, when they snap out of it, and you see like the come to realization of like, what the fuck is happening? When that happens to those people, the rest of the people in the town that Wanda and Vision live in, it's fucking chilling. It's like these people are not there under their own free will. The only person who was sent in there, I think, was Monica to pull her out. And then as soon as she attempted to, Wanda checked that shit and tossed her the fuck out. So, Ooh, we'll see. We'll see where it goes next week. I'm so fucking excited. Like I'm just genuinely so happy that something this interesting and creative and experimental could come from um from Disney and the MCU. I know that's fucking. I'm sure you're annoyed to hear that, but it's been super. No matter how good you think Endgame and Infinity War, it's been super stale personally. All these films, they're all very much the same to me, which is fine. It's not saying they're bad. They're just personally, I find them very average. Even crazy intense ones like Infinity War and Endgame were just just excessive. You know, they're extremely excessive. They have the most going on, but they're still. It's like I can think of a couple moments in there that exceed that averageness, but otherwise, it's like a flat line of all right. You know, it's all right. It's fine. And then to have something like WonkaVision come out, it's like, oh, where did this come from? Thank you. I've wanted something this interesting and creative and ridiculous for so long that it's actually made me interested. Now I'm looking forward to Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki. Now I'm like, okay, those might have a chance of not being what I assumed they would be, which is my fault for assuming, but it's also not my fault because I've been conditioned to assume like, oh, it's gonna be fine, you know. And that's just for me. I'm sure there are people out there that have always been excited and have seen these projects as more than just average, which is fine. We all have fucking different opinions. My opinion is, holy shit, this is a great fucking change in pace. I'm so stoked that something this wild came out of the MCU. Personally, I feel like the last time something this wild came out was Guardians of the Galaxy. That movie defined the next the next two phases of the movies, because up until Guardians of the Galaxy, it was quippy, and yes, it was very much a cookie cutter in terms of like the solo films, and the only really astounding ones. Personally, everyone hates me for this. I love the Incredible Hulk. There are definitely issues with it, but I love it. It's my personal favorite. And then there's Iron Man, and I love aspects of Captain America, the first Avenger, and I really love the argument between Thor and Odin in Thor, and that's all I like about that fucking movie. And then Avengers comes out, and everyone realizes, holy shit, they know what they're fucking doing. This is unlike anything. We've never seen anything like the Avengers before. And then, Winter Soldier is amazing. People don't talk enough about how amazing it is. I think that people often going, at least the most comments I see, I know that I have a small corner of the fandom, but the small corner I see is people like praising Civil War over Winter Soldier, which is fucking mind-boggling to me. Civil War is such a messy, fucking gray movie to me. But you finally come to something like Guardians of the Galaxy, which no one expected. It's another one of those things of like, no one thought that something like this not only would be made, but would be this much of a hit and would legitimately be good. It's one of my favorite MCU films, Guardians of the Galaxy. It established this like a true unexpected group of friends to come together and save the world, and it had a great sense of levity, which eventually obviously became the fucking prime directive over at the MCU, because everything else after that feels like such a you guys laughed in Guardians. How about this? How about this? How about this? How about this? It's like, oh my God. All right, please, I need something new. And then that's what WonkaVision is. It's something so beautifully new. And I'm so excited for what's coming to it. Paul Bettany had said that there's apparently a surprise character showing up. I've heard about this too. People have already talked about this. I think they're going to bring Evan Peters in as some kind of multi-reality Quicksilver. Because they're already talking about dipping into the multiverse, which I'm so excited about, and there are so many aspects of the multiverse that they could do, so many successful ways that they could branch off from it and then create more films from it. So if they do that, that's going to be fucking phenomenal. Evan Peters as Quicksilver is one of the best things about the recent X-Men movies. So, yeah. Oh, I had to get all that out. Oh my God, what a good fucking show. All right. I think that's it for this episode. I'm feeling pretty good about it, guys. I think this is good. This is awesome. All right. You can follow the show ads on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Please do that. I think that'll help the show a lot. You can also, I'm eventually going to do video soon. I'm very close to moving everything into my room and setting up the camera. I'm going to eventually do video on my YouTube channel, Comedian of Cinema. So if you eventually want to start watching it, you can listen to it audio too on YouTube, where I'm putting it up just in audio. Eventually, I will start doing a video podcast on it, so you can watch from there. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Comedian of Cinema, and follow me on Instagram, where it's kind of like my main thing. Oh my God, I just said Instagram was my main thing. Jesus Christ, get your shit together. All right, that's it. See you guys next week. Stay alive. Wear a fucking mask.